Good evening, everyone. System Chalk here with the 90, oh dear, fourth, I believe, episode of Book of Hours. I almost called it Cultist Simulator 2. I would say trust the labels, but I know a couple of you have been very good at letting me know when I get those wrong. So hopefully between the ordering on the list, the title card, what I'm saying here, and the title, someone will find the truth. I suspect that will be something like a level 4 moth mystery. So any of you who are familiar with the ways of the wood should be able to get us through that. In any case, thank you for watching. Let's see where this goes. We did wind up with our clouds for resurgences and emergences. We are working on getting an old moment for our miner, but the first thing that I want to do, because I'm going to rely on that health to... Ooh, yeah, actually this is tricky one way or the other. I think I am going to talk with the miner to get the health, so I'm ready to lend my limbs, boosts heart, scale, and nectar. So I held off on making the old moment, well, one, because I need the memories anyway, but number two, because I thought, well, we can at least boost the miner and then we can restore the health, but I suppose it takes a minute for me to restore the health, and then it takes another minute and a half to make the old moment. So we may actually wind up with a very, very tight window in which we can actually make that old moment. Well, we're committed now, so maybe I just won't put the consumables in until I have a clearer idea of where things are going. I suppose in a pinch, I could throw the wood at the Nocturnary, but hopefully we won't need to. Hopefully, we won't need to worry about that. Next up, what am I going to do here? We'll probably wind up chatting a bit more. So let's just move the resurgences and emergences to the side. So we've got 3, 4 of 6. So we really just need 2 more, but we could probably get those from talking with Mrs. Kill. I could open the package. And then with all of the activity, I know I took some time to reorganize the library, but I wouldn't be surprised if we had 1 or 2 more items that we would be able to work with. So the Hound's Galling, for instance, I suspect we would be able to read the Kukurbit prisoner records with. I think we already said that actually when we went to, or no, it was Asmiel, so that would have been Moon. I don't know. I feel like, on reflection, like, I'm kind of feeling like we're a little less secure in the position than I thought we were. But we should be able to get through it. I think I'm just going to need to do a little bit of fancy footwork. The question really comes down to, what do I want to do with all of my other elements of the soul? Because there really isn't that much for me to do. In fact, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea for me to just get the other 2 memories right away. And then from there, we can just rely on Mrs. Kill, especially because we're going to wind up with a visitor. So yeah, I think that's going to be my move here. So let's take the... I guess it doesn't even really matter which one. So we'll take the metal. And for this, we're going to get the Wind's Ruin. So this is going to give me something that Mrs. Kill can't generate. This is the Beguiling Melody. So I've already mastered this, but I could reread it and perhaps recall a memory. Now, as far as the other source of Grail, well, it would be Moth or Grail, but... oh, actually, with that in mind, Salt is always a tough one for me. So it's Knock, it's... Hang on, I need a minute to think about this. So it's Knock, it's Moon, there's a third one. I don't normally associate Moth with the sea, so I'm feeling less secure in trying to get that. Yeah, I don't feel good doing that. So I could try the impulse. The problem with the impulse... Oh yes, actually okay, this is coming back to me now. So impulse, or Moth, is actually a tough one for me to get a hand on. So we have impulse, and there was another one that gives us Moth, which I can't remember right now. Wouldn't be gossip because we already have gossip here. Impulse gives us moth and what? Impulse and I am completely drawing a blank. I know I usually wind up relying on a name day riddle. So I suppose we come back to our old friend Grail. And if we're relying on Grail, then essentially my options here are Satisfaction, and that might be it now that I think of it. Again, it's nice to just try. There's sometimes the benefit of actually just struggling with the problem before you look up an answer. In this case, I'm not going to look up an answer. I'm just going to read a book. But yeah, it's hard for me to see another option other than Satisfaction. So we'll use our FET at the Vagabond desk. We will get, what do I want? I've got the Berry book, Rose of Nuriel. Let's do Rose of Nuriel. See, a little bit of a different approach than I was expecting today, but we still have we have kind of the core that I need. Well, sorry, the CORE that I need. So we've got core, Arab, and Trist available. We only need 2 to be able to level up. Oh, you know what? I think I miscounted. So we've got 3 of 6 that we need. So I'm getting the Beguiling Melody and the Satisfaction. So that gets me up to 5. But I need to find... Okay, well, that has an easy answer, actually. So we're going to pour out a glass of Isle water. Pour out. Pour it out. Drink the stuff. This will consume the beverage. If it's a whole bottle, consider serving it first so you don't drink the whole thing. Mrs. Gill stands ready to help. You always cheer me up, she says morosely. Okay, weird start to the day, but we will be able to make something of this. We'll work alongside each other. All right, so again, timing is everything here. Tuppence will buy me a hearty meal in a quiet place where I can rest and gather my thoughts. Let's think about what else we can get the miner to do. Well, we can give them the serpent-styled glass for the start. Proffer a tool, I can lend my assistant something to help, increasing their abilities. So again, the key here is for me to pay attention to the checklist that I have. So we had the health, the tool, and then it's the old moment, Strathcoin's whiskey, or the mackerel that are the essential components here. So a lot of this really rests on my ability to get that old moment built. The water of the Isle has been very faint. The water of the Isle has a very faint, very distinctive taste, sometimes described as apple shroomy. Every sweet has its sour, Emerson. All right, so we're now at 4 of 6. This does raise some questions for me in terms of how I'm going to level up from 6 to 7. Now, we do have the name day riddle as an option, but it does carry with it the risk that I don't have a cloudy day. But again, we'll make this work. Developments in the world beyond Brandkrug. Is there someone on the way to Hush House? The affair of the Oriflamme heist. Oriflamme's auction house is never robbed, but what if it has been? What if somehow priceless treasures have been replaced with pricey forgeries? How could we even be sure? Visitors with an interest in knock or forge mysteries will want to talk about this. And we have Magister Hokobald, metallurgist, gourmet, corrupted immortal, and supposedly long ago, supposedly a long ago King's Byblow. Knows Greek, Latin, Frisian, Aramaic, and Deep Mandaic. We know Deep Mandaic as well. Can't can't remember why I brought this up. There are a couple things I'm curious to get his opinion on. Now, I think I mentioned this before, but if you have not read the mysterious letters, you do know the history of inks, and there might be, for those of you that don't know, there may be a connection with Magister Hokebald. All right. Now, I can't recall if I've got his... I do. My deeds, my powers, my achievements, and the injustices perpetrated against me. A diatribe by Hokebald of Posend, formerly of the Order of Immortals called the House of Leith, later the Order Lemea, much later the Obliviates. He has scores to settle. Book of True Blood. Cassius the Tommen reveals the deeds of the Unnumbered Legion, the secret army that protected Rome against the Shadowless Empire. So that gets us the fear. Oh, darn it. I didn't read the whole thing. And a second glory, the Prince Jusei celebrates the extirpation of the gods who were stone, those hours who preceded humanity. Jusei engages in apologia for the destruction of the hours. They were old, they were cowardly, they were vile. Their time had passed, and it was a shining destiny of humankind to seize the house through glorious battle. Jusei recounts how the hour called Seven Coils was slain in battle by the Colonel, now how the Grail devoured the hour called Tide, and how the Aegon Hatching fled like a coward. He's quite vituperative about the Aegon Hatching. He warns darkly against its return. Okay, so I've got the pieces that I need now for the old moment. In fact, let's just see what I can get away with. Oh, now that's interesting. Yeah, so I do really need an element of the soul with scale on it. That is a shame. All right, well, there's nothing to be done with it. We hope for the best. What do we have here? Half, it'll be close, but I think we can make it work with the, the minor. The Wind's Ruin, the second volume of the Meditations of Abbot Thomas of the Abbey of the Black Dove. Abbot Thomas speaks of his time as a raider, when his name was not Thomas but Toke, scything the sea, striving for plunder. Abbot Thomas clearly regrets his storm years, and much of the book is taken up with his thoughts on penitence, but there are hints that he misses those years and the companionship of his sword brother, ship brother, Trygeave. Alright, there's the Beguiling Melody. And finally, The Rose of Nuriel, a volume of collected teachings of the Sisterhood of the Knot, that arcane contemplative order that existed in all histories, but in some was very powerful indeed. This was recorded by Nuriel and dedicated to Saint Tryphon. Saint Tryphon, Nuriel explains, performed secret miracles in the name of she who bleeds and bears, and she who opens. Thus Saint Tryphon opened the way to the House of the Sun. Thus Saint Tryphon underwent the Great Birth, an ascension to immortality. St. Tryphon began his ascension by passing the horn door. St. Tryphon continued his ascension by learning the invocation Theatic, which Nuriel does not here record on account of its extreme holiness. And Nuriel explains grimly, to achieve the 7 marks of the Great Birth, St. Tryphon consumed those whose soul had left them, and even those in whom their soul remained. Some appetites are easier to satisfy than others. All right. So I think we go to boost resurgences and emergences as soon as possible. When I thought I'd understood, I'd only begun. Now, I think it's a pretty good idea that I bring back the sun's weaknesses. Or sun's weakness, rather. But I'm not sure it makes a whole lot of sense for me to try and bring back any of those other memories until the next day. Yeah, so I think actually bringing in Mrs. Kill was probably not that important. His tools boosted their aspects appropriately. So they're at 4 right now. Now, we take a second here. So one option I have, we talk with the miner. I could encourage my assistant, work with them for a little while, exalt them. Or I could just listen to whatever they might have to say. So we can add an element of the soul, which we've done. We've tool, which we've done. I could add the beverage and the sustenance, but that would only bring them up to 8. Now, I mean, there is an option there, right? I could try a memory and move on, but I think I'm going to risk it. But it does mean that we're going to need to wait until the end of the day to talk with the Magister. Although I believe if it's Grail or Forge, I think this is a Grail bed. Yes, so we would be able to let... yeah, we would be able to let Hokebald stay longer if we needed. For the time being, though, let's have a chat with Mrs. Kill and see what we can make happen. Mrs. Kill has seen more of the world than she usually lets on. Conversations with her yield the occasional surprise. I feel secure doing that because it's 30 seconds to get our health back anyway. It is spring, and the landlady has served me a slice of her stargazy pie, with the pilchard heads poking cheekily through the hot crust. All right. There it is in Camino Tizzer. Mrs. Kill, as every local gossip knows, came from France to marry Mr. Kill, but there's scant trace of the continent in her accent now. Now, what's funny about this one, of course, is that we spent an element of the soul to be able to get that hindsight, but you can't predict that sort of thing, right? So let's take the hindsight, the earth sign, coil and chasm. I feel reasonably safe with the miner's assistance now, so I think I will take the time to... it's Strathcoin, not Roscragan whiskey. So Roscragan is this one. Strathcoin, I think, is this one. Yeah. Serve appropriately. Pour out. Poured out. Now mostly empty. Nice drop. I can offer my assistants something to drink. This will increase their aspects. They'll also be glad of the refreshment. And I'm actually just going to take a double check here to make sure it's the old moment. Yes, recall something lost, something scale aspected. So first step, chat with the miner. I can offer my assistant something to drink. And then we play the waiting game. So it's a minute and a half. Now we're not yet at the midday point, so I'm feeling okay about our chances here. Don't have a whole lot of other plans for the day, so for starters, let's open the package. I'm also probably going to want to order some more Strathcoin whiskey, so we'll take the core. There's not much work on offer in Brandkrug, but I can find 6 pence worth of odd jobs. And yes, the sun's weakness, not weaknesses. Only one weakness for the sun. He's too awesome. Down to the Grushians. Alright, so once we get the 10 from the old moment, we should be able to make magic happen. Mrs. Kill has seen more of the world than she usually lets on. Hang on. It's 11 that we need, so I do actually need to feed the mackerel to them as well. I'm glad I double-checked. Yeah, I don't know why I was so worried about the timing. We've got more than enough for the old moment. Okay, there it is in Camino Tizzer. Mrs. Kill, as every local gossip knows, came from France to marry Mr. Kill, but there's scant trace of the continent in her accent now. I think we left some mackerel out on the table. Offer something to eat. I can offer my assistant something to eat. This will increase their aspects. It's also just friendly. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done and so am I, but I've earned my pay. Who threw this overboard? Alright, ambergris chunk. Now, oddly, that may help me with the production of an old moment. Well, I don't think the Noctonary will work with this, but... with keeper level scale, an old moment can lead to an earthquake name. Now, I think Coil and Chasm may actually allow me to do that anyway. Or not, it may allow me to do that, but I would need to find a greater source of scale. Sorry, that's Hill and Hollow. There's Coil and Chasm. So we would get 8. Excuse me. So we would get 8 with... this is actually worth taking the time to figure out. So 8 with the old moment. 9 with the... Okay, so if we tried the same trick that we did to create the old moment in the first place, we would have 8 with the old moment. We would have 10 with the... So, sorry, 8 with the Coil and Chasm and the old moment. 10 with the Earth Sign. 11 with the... that's the shame, yeah. 11 with the health, so... The problem there is I don't see how we get another 4. You can't have more than one old moment. Yeah, so this doesn't take a gem or material. Well, I suppose if I really wanted an earthquake name, that would maybe be... Well, no, even that doesn't really help me, because that really just gives me one more than the Earth Sign does. But I am interested, though, in where we might be able to put this to use. Alright, so that doesn't count. If we went to the alchemy set, that will take materials, although I noticed that gems are absent. Now, we would need to figure out sort of the remaining steps. So old moment would work because it's got a lantern aspect, but we would need to find we'd sort of need to find an equivalent to put in. So Coil and Chasm wouldn't work here because it's nectar and scale. And we couldn't put the health in. Now what about the dispensaries? The dispensary is very unlikely. Well then. I seem to keep misunderstanding where I can put the gems. It's a lot of things with gem aspect, or not a lot of things with gem aspects, but there are a lot of items that have the gem aspect, but I wind up putting them someplace else because of one of their other. So like usually it's material that that I wind up using. Yeah, that would be odd if you used there. It's not so important right now, but it is something I'd kind of like to think about. Because I have a feeling that I should be able to make more... I feel like I should be able to make more with this than I currently am. It's actually Rose Pearl's another example of this. Okay, well, let's focus on the task at hand. So we are going to want to improve the miner with the old moment. I've more or less given up on resurgences and emergences, but I do still have the Arab and the Faust, and I can use those. So the Arab I can use to bring back the Earth Sign. So we'll do that at Ava's desk. And then the Faust, I will confess I don't have a big plan for yet. I'm going to need to think about that. You've had them too, those moments when we seem to look out at the world through another's eyes. What if those moments were real? I can discuss a memory with my assistant. This will use up the memory, but boost the assistant's abilities for the rest of the day. Okay. I also need to find a home for this stuff. Just taking a minute here to see if there's any not so obvious places. Okay, so the solar altar will take a gem there. Memories don't last long outside books, but it's made a difference for the day. Now, if I'm going to talk with Hokebald, it would be a good idea for me to get on with it. And that's just so I don't tie up my talk verb for tomorrow when I'm going to want to try and make things happen for resurgences and emergences. Serpent scales whisper on stone. Serpent eyes glitter through the pale window light. So that was quite a bit of effort for something. Oh, I remember what I was supposed to do. I was going to help with pleading Terrence. You get a whole sack of vegetables because you were patient. Satisfy this creature's appetite. I mean, a whole minute on that is maybe a little overkill, but I don't know. It's just kind of... I think there is something very amusing about making Magister Hokebald wait until I feed the chicken before satisfying his request. So I am absolutely the sort of person who is willing to do silly things in the name of... you know, in the name of annoying... Well, I mean, it is silly to annoy a video game character, but I am the sort of person who will take Hokebald's the details I know about his life and make it worth make life a little difficult for him. All right, Durashi Quercum. In English, the title translates roughly as The Account of the Oaks, but this is Nathaniel Darcy Evers' fascinating if haphazard survey of the occult properties of every tree he can find, not just oaks. In Persia, Taxus Bacata, the yew is called Sottar, which is the red tree. There, they had long understood the grail root. In later times, the great king of Pontus had beehives set in the branches of the oldest of the female trees. The berries of the Pontine yew open the door to death, but the honey of their flowers opens a different door entirely. This was not the great king's Mithridate, but only one who has suckled at the great yew fears poison no longer. Perhaps they should. Nathaniel is here distracted, however, by the toxic properties of certain inks. He does mention, more usefully, that the minor ink of power Yugol can be brewed through rites of the roots with the assistance of the aspect nectar. And the earth sign, and the tracks of beasts and the convolutions of his own carapace, in egg vein and shell shadow, the many-eyed one found the signs which can be history. An earth sign is an auspice traced on the cloaked shape of the earth, perceptible to the sensitive, interpreted only by the wise. I guess I'll be taking the stolen secret through Me with Dreams tonight. I don't think there's going to be much of a chance for me to do much with Mrs. Kill if I want to make sure that our friend the Magister is taken care of. A full belly makes a helpful friend. Alright, the Hidden Stair. After Berlot's retirement in 1861, the Curia found itself short of promising candidates until the arrival of Willem Harries, a former Dutch Lutheran priest and sometimes correspondent of Stanislav Schaller. He had been a missionary in the Dutch East Indies until his faith was lost or transmuted into a devotion to St. Agnes of the Gate, and he was drawn to Hush House. He won his position by presenting the Curia with a key long lost. That was the key to this very stair, but only the naive would assume that the key was a tangible object. Okay, which is actually funny because I was talking about the key and thinking that it was a tangible object on the stream. So now I feel naive. This is also, I believe, the first dawn. Yep, this is the first dawn room that we've opened. So the dawn period in 599 AD. Sorry, 599 AD is the traditional date for the first foundation here, sometimes called the Abbey of the Black Dove, sometimes the Abbey of the White Crow. But the Sisterhood of the Triple Knot first built their temples here much earlier than that. So the next area is the Riddling Stair. So there's really nothing in here for us to work. Sorry, that's not true. We do have a beeswax candle, simple and bright. But other than that, we really don't have that much to look at on its own. Of course, there is still information present. But here we've got half-seen faces, mouth, half-heard riddles. This is none of Van Loren's work. These defenses are much older than the Curia, but the Curia found a way to answer these riddles, and so will we. So this requires moon or rose, so not all that different from the wheel-filled spring, save for the fact that the wheel-filled spring is easier. So I'm not expecting too much with the Riddling Stair. Let's take a minute here. We'll deal with, so we've got a couple of details here, right? So we've got Willem Harries, former Dutch Lutheran priest, who came after Natalia Brulot. Well, if we take a look at the order, we've got Natalia Brulot here, space for the sixth librarian, a niche with a plaque who brought a key long lost. Well, only one person meets that description. Willem Harries, this bust is cast in highly polished bronze. Put him right there. So another entry into the niches. So even then, was this worth all of the effort? I don't know, but certainly we did get something to show for it. Now, this does mean that if I were to sit down and if I were to reason this through, I would say I probably am coming up short in terms of rooms that I can unlock. I think I might have kind of hit my limit in terms of things that I can productively do with the elements of the soul that I have, and just basically all of the pieces that I have right now. I think I'm sort of running short on my next steps. I believe the barber might give me something that I can work with. So we'll talk about that later, but I've got a 12 rows, 11 rows. Don't think anything here. Yeah. Another 12 rows. Yeah, so there's a few things that I can work with as far as the different rose items are concerned. And then as far as winter is concerned, it is worth remembering that if I can somehow make the Wormwood Dream work, that helps as well. I suppose the other thing I should reflect on is the sun's weakness. So I think Grail, Lantern, and Moth have still been accounted for, but I do actually want to make sure that I'm explicitly dealing with those in my reckonings, particularly when we find new rooms. But yes, in this case here, the sun's weakness doesn't help me out here. So yeah, we may find other things to do. We may finally crack and use either some of the special hirelings or some of the other tools at our disposal. Like I said, I never want the playthrough to sort of grind to a halt because I refuse to take advantage of something available to me. But it's also worth remembering that with the sun's weakness, because memories are so versatile, I do also want to double check that the various curses, that I don't have some obvious answers to those. Again, we're getting a little long on the runtime, so I don't want to spend the time searching all of it. But these are just little details where I'm sort of like, okay, well, while we wait for another book to read or while we wait for other details, let's make sure that there isn't something else that I can do in between. Anyways, that is it for today. I will be back with another episode tomorrow, but as always, thank you very much for watching. Take care until the next one, and also after the next one, but I'll wish that to you in the next episode. See you later. Bye.